What's going on, you guys? TBR here, back yet again with another King of Fighters All-Star video. And in today's video, we are going to be taking a look at Boss Syndrome Nameless against Guild Raid Omega Rugal. We're going to be taking him in against the Hard, Expert, and Lunatic difficulties, and showing you guys yet more reasons as to why this character is absolutely busted. But before we get into all of that and more, make sure if you guys haven't already done so, you smash that like button and subscribe. And without further ado, let's get to the video. Cue the intro. Alright, you guys, welcome back to the channel, and in today's video we are going to be taking a look at Boss Syndrome Nameless, and we're going to be running him through his paces, this time against Omega Rugal in Guild Raid. So obviously last week we did take a look at Nameless against Nightmare Geese in Guild Raid, which if you guys haven't checked out the showcase for Nameless, I have plenty of that footage in that video, so if you guys want to check that out, link will be in the description. But basically in today's video, before we get into the spotlight for this character, because I am planning on getting the spotlight for Nameless to you guys this week, I figured that what we would do is we would go ahead and we would take a look at him against Omega Rugal in Guild Raid and see just how he fares in all of his glory, especially considering the fact that whenever I do those spotlight videos, typically for time, whenever it gets to the Guild Raid segments, I have to kind of cut those down for time. So like I said, I figured that this would be a good idea just so that way you guys can get a better idea and understanding of how this character is going to perform in these modes. So basically what we're going to do here is we're going to take a look at, and I'm going to show you guys some footage above the Hard, Expert, and Lunatic difficulties with Nameless, solo, no other strings, just going to have him running in there and doing his job. But basically, whenever it comes to the Omega Rugal Guild Raid runs, you guys are going to see that this character is an absolute beast. Now, of course, when it comes to Nameless, we had all pretty much assumed that he was going to be fantastic against Omega Rugal, considering the fact that he does have an excellent mixed kit of Burn and Darkness. Now, of course, we are definitely not for Burn units in this game. This is something that everybody has pretty much caught on to at this point, and something that I've complained about with this game for a very, very long time. But when it comes to Nameless, however, being the fact that he does have a few little things and tricks up his sleeve that kind of sets him apart, this is definitely a character that is going to be able to kind of set himself apart from some of these other Burn units in a big way. Now, of course, one thing is going to be the fact that, as we mentioned, he does have Darkness on his kit, so that is a very interesting and a very useful mixed dot combination. But one of the big things about Nameless that really makes him special, in my opinion, for Guild Raid is going to be his survivability. This is a character that is going to be able to give himself a couple of different heals. He has a few different sources for this. So if you guys take a look down here, if you take a look at this core, he is going to be able to recover 1% of his HP upon landing a skill if his HP is 70% or lower on a cooldown of 2 seconds. Now, we've talked about this already in the past. This is a very low amount for a heal. However, this luckily is not the only way that he can heal himself, because if we actually take a look here, I'll go to my equips and we'll take a look. So basically, as you guys are going to see here, this is going to be his 3PG finisher that is currently available on the banner, and you are going to be able to heal an additional 8% HP every time you use this finisher. So this is going to be a character that can pretty much eat these nukes for breakfast. He really isn't going to have much of any issue surviving any of these fights, which is a big deal. And in the end, being a defense type, he is going to be able to take a hit in general better than a lot of these other characters, especially like characters such as your attack types that are going to be a little bit more of glass cannons like you would come to expect with any type of attack type character. Now, another big thing about Nameless that is really cool whenever we get to these runs is going to be his shield shred. So really, when it comes to Nameless with the shield shred, it's very interesting against Omega Rugal, because what you're going to notice in some of these runs, and again, we'll get to the runs and I'll let you guys watch those in their entirety uninterrupted. I'm not going to talk over them and so on and so forth. So I figured I would just give you this introduction here. But when it comes to his shield shred, his shield shred's incredible. Now, I know a lot of people have already kind of mentioned that the multi-hits for Ash are a little bit higher than it is with Nameless. However, when it comes to Nameless's multi-hits and his shield shred as a result, it doesn't really matter because it's still amazing. His shield shred in general is one of the big perks for him in Guild Raid in general, and you guys are going to be able to see that whenever we apply the applicable burn or darkness dot that we need, we are going to be shredding that shield in a big way. Another thing you're going to notice in the Lunatic run is we're actually shredding the shield even without any source of starlight, because of course there are no strikers in the game that are going to offer starlight at this point yet, which is kind of surprising being that it's been so long. But you're going to notice that even without the applicable dot, he is still going to be able to shred shield and lower that shield very quickly. Now, he is a character that is not going to have the applicable dot for Lunatic, like we mentioned, so he isn't going to necessarily drop the shield in a couple of seconds, but at the same time, he is going to be able to drop it very quickly by comparison to some of these other characters whenever they aren't going to have the right dot for some of these modes. So it's very interesting. I know a lot of people out there have already been playing around with him in Guild Raid against Omega Rugal, and you guys have probably seen some pretty impressive footage. So in today's video, I am going to show you, like I said, 3 different runs in all 3 of the pertinent difficulties, and you guys are going to be able to see for yourselves just how my Nameless is able to fare, and it is very good. So one thing I want to show you guys real quick is the build here. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the build, and then I'll show you my fame again just so I can reiterate all that, and then we can go ahead and move on to the footage. So as you guys can see here, this is going to be the build. This is pretty much standard fare for what I've been running on my Nameless. There really isn't anything here that's too surprising. When it comes to the overall set cards, you know, I've been doing a lot of damage tests with this character, and so far this has been the set that I have appreciated and liked the most. It seems like this has bared out the best overall damage consecutively over time, comparatively speaking to some of these other fest sets and things of that nature. So the idol set has really come into its own ever since Transcendence became a thing, and definitely proven to make a big shift when it comes to the meta for some of these card sets in PvE. So if you guys don't have this set yet, I know that a lot of people caught on to how good this set was whenever Boss Syndrome Leona first dropped. You guys definitely want to pick up this set, because a fully transcended idol set at this point, and I don't want to make this video about the idol set by any stretch of the imagination, but I definitely feel like I need to say this. When it comes to a fully transcended idol set, it is invaluable for some of these characters. It has already proven to be the best set pretty much arguably for Boss Syndrome Leona, and now with Nameless, it has pretty much proven to be the best set for him. Although when it comes to these damage tests and things, depending on the person you're talking to, a lot of the times you're going to get different answers, because everybody's fame's different, their cards are different as far as their transcendence levels and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of moving parts, but in general, I feel like a lot of people have pretty much kind of come to the conclusion that the idol set is going to be the best set for your Nameless, and that seems to be the popular theory at this point, but it's still pretty early on, so more data I'm sure will come out and either prove or disprove that. But for right now, in the footage you're about to see, that is what I'm running. When it comes to my option cards, these 2 here have been pretty much standard fare unless I am against Nightmare Geese in Guild Raid, at which point I'll go ahead and use the Shermie option instead of this Rugal option here. So that's pretty much what I'm rocking in this clip today. So when it comes to the imprint stones, for those of you who have not seen, like I've already mentioned, I don't have any unpairing kits because Netmarble hates me, contrary to popular belief. So what we have here is we just have a full set of Attack Volume 5 stones, not anything fancy. And then when it comes to my Moon and my Star stones, I am running a Darkness stone here that is an HP stone, unfortunately, and then I have a Burn stone that luckily is going to be an Attack stone. However, it is not fully maxed out because I am trying to conserve hammers and kind of stock back up. So that is pretty much what we got here. You know, in the end, when it comes to Nameless's performance here against Guild Raid Omega Rugal, is he necessarily the tippy top as far as performance? He might be. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. When it comes to burn units, there are a ton of them, so it's kind of tough, and especially considering the fact it's been a while since I've played with some of them. However, just based on my own memory, this character is putting up equal numbers or better numbers than the majority. You know, of course, Boss Syndrome Leona exists, so that's always a thing against like hard difficulty and so on. But at the end of the day, when it comes to Boss Syndrome Nameless's mixed dot coverage of darkness and burn, as well as the fact that his shield shred is so strong, I do get the feeling that this is going to be a character, really, he's kind of like a Swiss Army knife. This is a character, and I've said that already several times, ever since he got released, that's kind of what he looked like to me on paper. This is a character that you can pretty much take into almost anything, and he is going to offer you a ton of versatility. This is a character that is extremely versatile. He's extremely strong, and no matter what it is you're taking him into, of course he's going to have his pros and his cons. You know, I noticed that a lot of people like to point out the cons a lot with this character because, you know, it's interesting. There's a very tribal approach to these banners sometimes whenever you're talking about fan favorites. A lot of people kind of get stuck on the idea of needing to pit the two characters against each other and kind of dissect them in opposition of one another, and in my opinion, that's just not important. You know, at the end of the day, what's important is going to be what these characters are good at respectively, and when it comes to Nameless here, he is good at just about everything, and I think that that is something that is definitely worth noting, regardless of the little cons that he might have here and there, because any character is going to have those. So one last thing I'm going to show you guys real quick is I'm going to show you my fame. So this is going to be my fame here. So as you guys can see, when it comes to the green, which is what's important here, this is what I've got for my green. So that is pretty much that. Nowhere near as strong as my yellow, which we talked about in yesterday's video showcasing Ash Crimson, which for those of you who are wondering, yes, I am going to go ahead and do another showcase video, kind of like this one with Ash against Guild Raid Omega Rugal, if it proves to be important. So that is something I'm going to be testing out today. Admittedly, I have not had a lot of time to go ahead and test Ash against Omega Rugal yet, just because I have been kind of tinkering around with Nameless, because on surface, he made the most sense to try out first, and therefore that is what we are doing today. So anyway, you guys, we're going to go ahead and get into the footage. I'm going to get out of here and stop talking to you guys and wasting your time. So I'm going to get out of here. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoy the footage. If you do, make sure that you smash that like button and subscribe on the way out. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the footage. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.
continue.